following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Hello and welcome into Main Street Preps this week. I'm Russell Vannozzi, joined as always by Tyler Palmateer, and we are coming at you from a few different locales today, thanks to the power of technology. So grateful for that. Tyler, how we living today?
Pretty good, Russell. How about you?
Doing pretty well. Excited to talk about the playoffs as they roll on this week. We've got the second round coming up on Friday. And, of course, we'll break down the first round. We are also going to, in just a few minutes, talk to Cane Ridge coach Eddie Woods. His team picked up a big 48-0 win over Gallatin in the first round. So excited to get to all that with you guys. But first, I want to let everybody know that this podcast is sponsored by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. All right, let's bring in Cane Ridge coach Eddie Woods now. Like I said, his team is riding high, rolling into the second round of the playoffs. Eddie, how you doing this morning? Or this afternoon, I should say.
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Great. Doing great, Eddie.
Doing well. Thanks for being here. And let's start with that 48-0 win over Gallatin last week, Eddie. Did you guys think there was a chance the score would end up being that lopsided?
We not really, but at the same time, it does surprise me. We've been at this process for a long time. We lost the first round last year. We were pissed off, and we knew we wanted to come back and make a statement win that first round of the playoffs. And surviving is the most important thing, but doesn't hurt to win in that fashion.
Well, Eddie, you kind of this is Tyler. You sort of answered my question about how much motivation is kind of being drawn from the first round exits, but I'm going to kind of pivot to something. How you guys have a lot of seniors, and not just that, but a lot of them in key positions. When you look at the season, the 11-1 record, just when you look at it on paper, it looks so nice. How much of this is attributed to overall experience?
Well, overall experience is always good, and I tell my guys all the time, it doesn't mean anything if you don't put the work in. And these guys have been putting the work in for the last couple of years. Last year was the we had the full off season and everything that comes along with the off season in Metro. So we're excited about the opportunity that we have in front of us. The seniors we're just taking it one day at a time, and they're just trying to keep surviving every week. But we do have a couple of sophomores and juniors that's contributed big as well that we're excited about.
And one of those key seniors is Siobhan Abdullah, who, by the way, if anybody missed it, just won a couple of Super Bowl tickets a few weeks ago on the Titans broadcast. That was pretty awesome to see the presentation there with Roger Goodell and everything. That was really cool.
Everything's coming up good for Siobhan Abdullah this year.
Yeah, this has been a memorable fall.
Great senior year.
Yeah, definitely a time he's going to remember. But for Eddie, for you guys, he does everything. He's a quarterback, a kicker, a punter. How important has his continued development been to your team's overall success this year?
Man, it's extremely important. That guy's put a lot of work in. He's taking a lot of heat from me because I know that position had to get better from last year, and he responded to it very well. He's matured each game. I know if you watch each game, from a quarterback standpoint, he's matured each game, and we really need that going to the playoffs. But he's such a clutch kicker, man, and I think he's accurate from 35 to 40 yards after the hash to hash, which is big for us as well. And, he can punt too. He can do everything. But, we talk about roles and being of service, man. We took all of, the eye stuff out, recruiting and all those things. That's great. But, we want to just talk about serving and giving what we have to the program, whether it's a big role, small role, whatever. And they just been buying into that mantra. That's what we've been riding on all year.
Mose Phillips III. Offense and defense, a guy that can really do both well. He recently picked up a Power 5 offer from Virginia. I know he's been he's been pretty patient for that Power 5 offer in this recruiting process. Eddie, can you explain where he's improved since last year?
Everywhere. You know, his reaction. The game is slower to him because he's been playing for 3 years now, so that's a given, and that's true for most of our seniors, like Reg Goodlow and the rest of Byron Davis, the rest of those guys as well. But just he's extremely hard work. He's at an old school work ethic, man. Just he works his butt off. He's already a cerebral kid, and he's come more and more smart at the game, so he kind of sees it, you know, before it happens, and that's what he's really improved with his instincts, just being instinctive and not being too smart sometimes. It's like smart guys, they'll play slower, but he's really picked it up in that area.
And your defense is coming off of 3 straight shutouts now and is only allowing about 13 points per game for the season. I'm curious, is there something about that group that's intimidating, that's made life difficult for opponents, or where is that competitive advantage coming for you guys on the defensive side?
Well, first and foremost, Moses' dad, most of the year, he's a defense coordinator, and he's put a lot of work in with those guys, really challenging, because we had, and you know, like I said, on their defense, and they just got back to their hard-nosed Cane Ridge way. You know, we not all the flash stuff. We're gonna line up. We're gonna hit you. And that started last November when we started the weight room. We got to work right away. We at the end of last year, and what comes along with the weight room, and we just want to be physical. We want to make sure people understand that we're gonna be also gonna buy into the X and O part of it, be disciplined. I think the discipline, you know, we've had some bust here and there, but as people, but we're going to be physical. That's one thing we pride ourselves on.
You mentioned him earlier, Eddie, Byron Davis. You have several guys who can stretch the field, and he's really one of them that, I don't know, seems maybe like somebody that's just not getting a ton of recognition, or maybe just hasn't put up massive numbers. But what's it mean to your guys to, you know, when you look at him, to have you know, there's a lot of speed on that team. I mean, where does Byron rank in terms of fastest?
Ooh, he's probably fast on the team, I would say, for sure. Such a strong kid, but our skilled guys, it's mandatory they run track. So they're no strangers to, you know, working on speed and increasing speed over the off season. It's mandatory those guys do that. So he just, you know, he's extremely hard worker as well. I think by Mose being the worker he is, it's kind of rubbed off on all the other guys as well, and they see the aftermath of it. But I want to address one thing. I don't understand. You know, we put our kids out a whole lot. I don't know why it's so slow in the recognition for him, but that obviously he can play a hell of a corner. He plays nickel. He plays slot. He plays in the backfield. He can even play on the outside because he's fast, he's compact, strong. But I don't understand the recognition of it. A lot of things I don't really, agree with on the recruit. All about stars and things like that. Nobody, in my opinion, really truly evaluate kids, and if you like about who else likes the kid, I think it's just crazy. But you know, I told him to keep the faith and keep pushing. He's starting to keep up here, and God's gonna put him where he needs to be, and he understands that.
So this Friday is the rematch with Clarksville in the second round here, and of course, like you said, you guys were pretty upset after losing last year. What does it mean to your guys to have this chance against the team that put you out of the playoffs last year?
Well, obviously, you know, it's an opportunity for us to go out and, you know, kids, you know, obviously somebody put you out. There's going to be motivation for anybody. But the more important thing is we don't go out early and we die hard. We didn't do that last year. Went out early, we didn't really die hard. You know, we kind of gave that game away. But we're back to that mindset. We're just excited to be able to advance to the second round, and hopefully we can advance to the third round. But I'll be lying to you if I want to about this game.
Hard. Maybe you guys can have maybe a picture of Bruce Willis that you can slap before you go out of the locker room every day. Last thing, Eddie, and we're going to get you out of here. Going to put you on the spot a little bit. Who's the best player your team has faced this season, and why?
Ooh, got a lot of them. Let's see. Now, I'll tell you this. The kid from CFA is good as advertised. The kid at the receiver that's coming to Vanderbilt. I can't remember his name.
Who's he playing for? Junior Sherrill.
CPA.
London Humphreys.
London Humphreys, yeah.
Humphreys. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I know that kid very well.
We know you guys just sit there and look at – I mean, sometimes coaches just look at numbers. I mean, there's coaches that just know their own players by numbers. But, I mean, what was it about London? What was it about London, Eddie? Speed or what?
It was a speed, but the route running ability. We got guys that can cover, and we ran man a couple of times. He made us pay in the zones. He knows how to get in zones. He knows how to find zones and run down the seam. It's certain little small things you do to if you know if a kid's really taught, and that kid's been taught well, and that don't surprise me. Ingle's a hell of a coach, but he is fast, and I seen him run the state track meet last year, if I'm not mistaken. And some guys have track speed and football speed. He has both. But he's really, really good. He really impressed me. The tight end they had was really good too. But I mean, even the guy at Smyrna, Arian Carter, does that. He's kind of do it all for him, but he is tough and he's good too, especially linebacker, man. He's really physical. So we play against a few guys this year.
That's a good list.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Eddie, thanks for taking some time for us today, and congratulations on all the success you guys have had so far, and best of luck here in the second round. We're going to be watching that Clarksville game with a lot of intrigue.
Okay, we really appreciate it, guys. We appreciate you guys.
You bet.
All right, that's been Cane Ridge football coach Eddie Woods. I believe we're gonna have Brady McIntyre covering that game on Friday. Should be a fun one out there in Antioch. And before we get to our takeaways and our picks for the second round, we are gonna go ahead and take a quick break. So we'll see you in just a second.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
I thought it was good.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal. It was no big deal.
Hey, I can hold my liquor. I thought I could hold my liquor.
So the first round is in the books, and I don't know if we learned a ton, Tyler, because things kind of went as they were supposed to. There were not a whole lot of upsets. In fact, 22 of the 25 teams in our Main Street Preps top 25 rankings all won. And I believe at least one or two of those teams that lost were lost to other ranked teams. So anyways, but all that said, what kind of stuck out to you from last week?
Billy, give me some help on this script here, would you? Sorry.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'll take the blame for that.
There is a technical component to having a podcast and a show. That's just a little inside look there. For me, I saw East Nashville for the first time, and the issues that we sort of were kind of discussed a little bit going about their 2-game losing streak were a little more clear. There have been personnel losses on the offensive line and a couple other places on the offense that I think are really what should I say? I mean, it's just a hard thing for a team to overcome when you have 2 offensive linemen that have played all year suddenly gone. And when there's no protection, the whole offense changes. So I thought the issue for the Eagles became a little more clear, and they were able to win a close one against White House. And I think that's just the kind of the mantra from here on out. They're a little bit pieced together. Just try to find a way to win, even if it's ugly. So, and they've still got some weapons. So I'm really interested to see how far that team can go. I thought a little bit about what could have been with Ravenwood. 4-star quarterback Chris Parson really wanted to play last week. What was coming out of Ravenwood was that he was begging to play. And that's just a guy he is kind of a gamer type player. I haven't spoken to him a lot. He just loves to compete. He's not a guy that's going to try and sit out the rest of a season just so he can get to play get to college. But obviously, the coaching staff at Ravenwood had to consider that because he's got a future in front of him at Mississippi State. So I just sort of started to think what could have been with Ravenwood, a team that played a tough schedule, went up against the NBAs and put forth a good effort there, put forth a good effort against Oakland. You sort of wonder what might have been had that team stayed healthy. Last takeaway, not really a takeaway from the previous week, but more of kind of an observation and a development this week. Franklin Road Academy's quarterfinal opponent, Chattanooga Christian, is going to be without Mr. Football semifinalist Boo Carter. He's no longer enrolled at the school per the Chattanooga Times Free Press. that is a big shakeup in the D2 AA race, which I know we all sort of think and believe pretty strongly that Lipscomb's the firm favorite, but that smooths FRA's path to the semifinals. If, of course, granted, you still got to go out and win on Friday, but Carter's a big loss. I mean, that's a guy who had offers from Ole Miss, Michigan, and LSU, among others. So very interesting thing to sort of change a playoff race there. That's pretty rare, but Carter wasn't with the team last year or last week for the first round. So it's a very, very interesting situation.
Yes, certainly looks like that's FRA's opportunity to jump there. I mean, they've had a great season. I believe only one loss here in Justin Geisinger's first year, and I don't think anybody was expecting that their turnaround to happen this quickly, but it has. And now that they're this far, they've got an opportunity like that. It's theirs. It's theirs for the taking. So, anyways, like I said at the top here of this segment, first round pretty much went as we thought, but the second round will not be as forgiving. There's going to be some really good teams that get sent home. Looking at our rankings, there are 5 matchups between ranked teams that are on tap. So at least 5 ranked teams will be, cleaning out their lockers after Friday. So should be interesting to see who that is and who moves on. Another development, speaking of Chris Parson, one of his counterparts there at the top of the quarterback class in the area, Kenny Minchie, was able to return from an injury after missing 6+ games due to a shoulder issue. And that was huge for Pope Prep. He came right in, threw for 225 passing yards and 4 touchdowns to help them beat Briarcrest. And I think this gives them more than a fighting chance against Brentwood Academy this week in the Division II AAA quarterfinals. So, big development for Pope Prep there. And also hats off to Chet Lax. He really held down that position. I wrote about him last week while Minchie was out, and the Knights were able to go 3-3 during that stretch and really kind of keep their season afloat. Because like we saw with Ravenwood, it's really tough when you lose a leader and kind of a generational talent like that at quarterback. And lastly, speaking of the Division II AA race, some intrigue there with FRA. I think also CPA too. Can't forget about them. Ingo Martin and his team took down Boyd Buchanan and Gary Rankin, and I know Gary Rankin just got there. Obviously, first year at Boyd Buchanan, but he immediately elevated that program, made them into a much better team this year. So that was a good win for CPA, and now CPA's path to the Blue Cross Bowl doesn't look so bad. I mean, it's going to be, there's still good teams there. Don't get me wrong, Lausanne, and then possibly a rematch with FRA if they're able to get through. But I think that's certainly a path that CPA could handle if it plays well, and would not be shocked if they, make it back to the Blue Cross Bowl once again.
Yeah, you made an interesting, you talked about, I'm going to go back to the Kenny Minchie thing, but and Chet Lax did do a great job in backup duty, but how about Minchie just coming back and just throwing up 225 passing yards and 4 touchdowns? He did have a couple of interceptions, but I think that the picks are kind of to be expected. But after a shoulder injury and that much time out, I don't think anybody would have been surprised or, would have. I think it would have been completely fine if Minchie would have come out and had like a 7 of 15 night for less than 200 yards just because he hadn't had any game action. So really interesting that he sort of is so automatic. And then all of a sudden that race is interesting because Pope will get a chance against Brentwood Academy to also all of a sudden his playoff outlook changes. So that return from injury is certainly really interesting.
Definitely. And we will make a pick for that game right on the other side after this message from the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
It was just a few cocktails at happy hour.
Really good try. There aren't any cops around.
I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Run your name, sir. Do you know where you are right now?
As promised, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that Pope Prep at Brentwood Academy matchup to lead off our previews and picks segment. Tyler, this game has been an absolute classic the last 2 years in 2020 and 2021 when they met in the playoffs. Both games were decided by a field goal. And I don't know about you, but I would not be shocked if that is the case now, especially that Kenny Minchie is back and healthy at quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be what a quarterback match.
And Kenny Minchie versus George McIntyre.
I mean, if you haven't seen George McIntyre this year, and Russell, this I think will be your first time seeing him. I mean, those are just two classy stand-up quarterbacks. I mean, we just look at how they play, their stature. I mean, both have college football careers ahead of them. That's going to be really, really good. Kenny coming back from injury there to help give us that matchup. I need to go shake his hand. Russell, what's your pick there?
Well, I don't think Cody White's going to be shaking his hand, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. My pick is still Brentwood Academy 28-24. I think Brentwood Academy finds a way to pull this thing out, but, I would not be shocked at all if Pope Prep is right there at the end. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it feels just kind of like a toss-up game, like you mentioned, with the way they've gone the last couple of years. Hard to figure out, but I like Brentwood Academy 35-32. Simply the fact that I like that team at home, along with George McIntyre, a younger guy, doesn't have to go on the road in the playoffs. He gets to be where everything's really familiar to him. But I kind of agree. I think it's going to be one of those wild games.
Take the over.
Take the over. Yeah.
That's right. That's Billy Derrick, our producer. For those wondering who that voice is coming from above, he's right there. So he makes this show happen, and we appreciate it. Moving on to our next game, and Tyler, this is going to be a big one too, with a lot of intrigue. White County at Nolensville. Of course, White County is led by Malachi Dowell, a Mr. Football semifinalist and running back who's just having a monster year. And Nolensville, we've documented them well. We've had Coach Paul Derrick on the show before. They've been a juggernaut this season.
Yeah, I like Nolensville 28-21. I'll be at that game. Russell, am I thinking that right? That's what we planned, right?
You're just trying to make me jealous.
Well, I did the top games earlier. I was working on them, and I think I forgot where I was going to be. But that is correct. That's where I'll be. I'm really excited to see Malachi Dowell, and I think he has a big game. I think he has one of his classic big games, but I think Nolensville's offense is just going to kind of be the difference. I'm going to go deeper on my prediction. I'm going to say Kobe Walton hits Chance Fitzgerald for a late score to win this one.
All right, we're going to hold you to that. And I'm with you, though. Nolensville, I've got them winning 35-28. And this is something we haven't talked about a ton, but how about their defense? Their defense is only allowing 12 points per game. The offense kind of gets all the love with the playmakers they've got. Chance Fitzgerald, Dylan Northcutt, Samson Johnson, Kobe Walton. Deservedly so. Those guys deserve it. But the defense has kind of low-key been very difficult to crack this year, and that's been huge for them. So I think against Malachi Dowell, that's what you need. You need a defense that can come up with some stops, and I think Nolensville gets enough of them here.
Yeah, and turnovers. I haven't looked at those numbers in a while, but midway through the year when we talked to Paul, those turnover numbers were good, and that's a great recipe just to keep winning. If you can get a couple a game, cup 2 is probably pretty good. I mean, that's a good number just to get per game, and that's going to win you some. That's going to get you some victories.
Now, how about Clarksville at Cane Ridge? That's the game that we talked about with Eddie. Rematch of last year's first round game that kind of surprised us all when Clarksville went to Cane Ridge and knocked them off there in the first round.
Yeah, and Cane Ridge just I didn't see that game last week, but to beat Gallatin 48-0. Gallatin's maybe not a juggernaut, but that's still a team that has played some others close, and 48-0 is a really impressive score. I'm going to take Cane Ridge 24-17. It's a deep and experienced group with a defense that we kind of talked about that is maybe overlooked a little bit, allowing just 12.8 points per game, and was really interested to hear Eddie's answer to who's the fastest on the team, because it's really a group that has several of those speedster type guys. That's always what I'm curious in, is who the fastest is of the group. And I thought Byron Davis would be toward the top. I've seen him make some great plays this year. I think I've seen Cane Ridge like 4 times. But so I was interested to hear that. And he is a guy that can burn you. And I never really thought about that impact on defense either. So he's obviously making a difference on that side of the ball too.
Yeah, they have quite a bit of team speed there. And I'm with you. I think Cane Ridge is going to take this one. I've got them winning 30-21. This feels like, we don't even have to say it. Eddie said it for us. This has got revenge game written all over it, and I just feel like the Ravens are going to find a way to pull this one out and to atone for that loss last year. And finally, Page at Mount Juliet. Man, this is another game that had a hard time picking. Might be a bit of a toss-up, but I got to see Page last week, and I was really impressed with them and their first-round win over Green Hill. Maybe this is recency bias from me having seen them, but I feel like they're going to find a way here, and I've got them winning this game 35-31. They were without running back Ethan Cunningham last week. I believe he was injured, but with the offensive line that they've got, led by Ronan O'Connell, who's been piling up all kinds of offers lately. Colin Hurd is a mobile quarterback, and they've got Caden Walker and Brendan Anes as well, kind of a by-committee approach there to fill in for Ethan Cunningham. And that trio right there was really difficult for Green Hill to stop, and I think Mount Juliet's going to have some problems with it as well.
Yeah, I had kind of a tough time picking this one as well. Mount Juliet has this knack for getting into close games, and this year has been able to pull them out and finish them off. So that to me looks like a good trait to have in like the second round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals, where these games start to get tight. If you have the chemical makeup of a team that can pull out those games, that's really important this time of year. Having said that, I'm going with Page 38-34. I think Hurd has a big game. He's, as you mentioned, he's got that big line up front that'll help make the difference. I believe the Patriots will keep marching toward what they hope is a second straight appearance in the Class 5A finals. I think that's a program that's really got a little culture going right now, and there are a lot of guys left over from that team last year that maybe we overlooked a little bit, and they were so important in that run. We all kind of really gave a lot of the focus to Jake McNamara at quarterback and what he was able to do for them. But obviously there were guys waiting in the wings to help give Page another competitive season like this. So I like them to move on.
Yeah, Colin Hurd was one of their star linebackers. I believe we had him on our all mid-state team as a linebacker. Now here he is as quarterback, putting up equally great numbers on that side. So
right.
Been a great season for Page so far. There is our picks, at least for 4 of those big games that we're looking forward to this Friday. You can see all of our picks along with all of our colleagues' picks at mainstreetpreps.com. Starting Wednesday, we'll have picks for 10 of the top area playoff games. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. And, signing day is Wednesday, so we'll have all kinds of coverage, including a big list of where everybody's heading. We'll have that on Wednesday as well. So you want to stay tuned in to mainstreetpreps.com. Follow us on Twitter at Main Street Preps. Like us on Facebook by searching Main Street Preps. Thanks for listening, and I want to remind everybody on the way out that this podcast is sponsored by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We'll see you back next time on Main Street Preps this week.